Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Bien? Yo también. En la clase de hoy, we finally arrived to the third conjugation. As you know, this is part of a series of the most common verbs in Spanish, but I started in part 1 with the verbs that end with AR. Then part 2, I covered the verbs that end with, this is an A, huh? A. And then part 2, we review the common verbs that end with ER. Finally, today, we're going to talk about the square. No, it's not true. We're going to talk about the verbs that end with IR. And with this, we're going to finalize our playlist of the most common verbs. But don't forget, in our next verb lesson, we're going to talk about the verbs that end with se. So don't forget, like for example, sentirse, like this one. Verbs like this one. So don't forget to watch the next lesson about those verbs that are particular. See? But I'm excited that we finally arrived to the third and last conjugation. Muy bien. So we're going to start with the most important verb for this list, I think. To go. Ir. By the way, I have a lesson about the 4 most important verbs that you have to master in Spanish. And to go, ir is one of them. So if you want to master those 4 verbs, go and watch that lesson. But for now, let's focus on our third conjugation. To go. Ir, presente, yo voy, I go. I went, yo fui. You go, tú vas. You went, tú fuiste. To open, abrir. To open, abrir la caja del tesoro. Abrir. Yo abro. I open. I opened. Yo abrí. You open. Tú abres. You opened. Tú abriste. To say or to tell. 2 verbs in English equal 1 verb in Spanish. Decir. To say or to tell. Yo digo. Yo dije. With a J. Yo dije. Tú dices en presente. Tú dijiste en pasado. With a J too. Very well. To sleep. Dormir. Yo quiero dormir. I'm tired. Quiero dormir. I want to sleep. No, I don't want to sleep right now. Yo duermo. I sleep. I slept. Yo dormí. You sleep. Tú duermes. You slept. Tú dormiste. ¿Dormiste bien? Sí, sí dormí bien. Gracias por preguntar. Thank you for asking. ¿Y tú dormiste bien? No, yo dormí mal. To live, vivir. Yo vivo, I live. Yo viví, I lived. Tú vives, you live. You lived. Tú viviste. Viviste with double I, so pretty. Like this, viví, but with con acento aquí y aquí, no. To write, escribir. Do you like to write? ¿Te gusta escribir? Yo escribo. Yo escribo mucho. I write a lot. Yo escribo mucho. I wrote. Yo escribí. I wrote a letter to my mother. Yo le, because it's to a person. Yo le escribí, wrote, a letter, una carta, to my mother, a mi mamá. Now, you can say, I wrote a letter to my mother. Yo le escribí una carta a mi madre. If you say, I wrote it to my mother, yo se la escribí a mi madre. Watch my lesson about that. Se le la. To write, escribir. Okay. To listen, oír. Yo oigo. Yo oí. And I forgot to write the rest. Doesn't matter. Tú oyes. And tú oíste. Pasado. I don't know why. Maybe because I was running out of space and I just kept going. To feel. To feel. Feelings are nice, right? To feel. Sentir. Sentir. Sentirse. Remember, we're going to in another class about verbs, we're going to talk about the verbs that end with S, E, C. And you're going to see what they have in special because they are very special verbs. They are very personal. Sentir, yo siento, siento. Remember that irregularity? We're getting used to it, huh? Next time when we see the verbs that have that irregularity, it's going to be like eaten bread. They call it pan comido. Eaten bread is very easy. You're going to be like, I know that, those verbs that end with I, E. I know those. Pan comido. Eaten bread. Where I was? Yeah, pan comido, sentir. Yo siento, I feel. Yo sentí, I felt. You feel, tú sientes. You felt, tú sentiste. Now, I feel sick because I am talking about myself. Then I'm going to say yo me because that, talking about yourself or myself, the very personal one that reflects on you, you're saying, and you're the object of that action. Yo me siento. Yo me sentí en el pasado, but it's still the same pronoun, me. Tú te sientes, you feel sick, te sientes mal, you feel bad, te sientes mal. Tú te sentiste en el pasado, te sentiste. Perfecto. To produce, producir. To produce, producir. Yo produzco. Yo produje en el pasado. Tú produces. You produced? No, you produced, present. And you produced, produjiste. Strange, huh? The J and the J and the CK. Like conozco, remember we say conocer, the verbs end with conocer. It's a similar verb, right? Conozco is going to take these two. But then here, in the past, for both I and you, it's going to be similar to this one. That means we are opening another box for verbs that accomplish another irregularity. Now, if you see irregularities, it's not that it only happens in this verb and in that verb. Usually, it's a group of verbs that share that, and it's not deliberate. It had a reason when it happened. It had a reason. Otherwise, I'll explain to you what are the reasons that some consonants change throughout the centuries in another class. Because otherwise, we'll take too long for this class and you really want to learn the verbs for now. To receive, recibir. Like, for example, when you say receive, accuse, receive, acuso, recibo. Recibo, recibir, receive. Yo recibo. You can say I receive, but this is also receipt. Recibo, both a noun and a verb, an action and an object. Recibo, el recibo de mi renta, the receipt for my rent. And yo recibo, I receive the receipt for my rent. Yo recibo el recibo de mi renta. Yo recibo el recibo de mi renta. Okay, yo recibí, you receive, tú recibes, you received, tú recibiste. You received my rent's receipt. Tú recibiste el recibo de mi renta. ¿Qué tal, Verso sin esfuerzo. To exit. Salir. That's what I'm going to do when I finish this class. Me voy a salir de este salón. Yo salgo. Yo salí en el pasado. I exited. Tú sales. You exit. Tú saliste. You exited. Tú saliste de la clase. Tú te saliste de la clase. To come out, the same. Salir. I just wrote it twice, but it's the same. Yo salgo, yo salí. Tú sales, tú saliste. En el pasado, saliste. En el presente, sales. En el pasado, yo salí. En el presente, yo salgo. To come, venir, aquí. No, ir. Ir para allá, venir aquí, where the speaker is. Venir. Yo vengo. Yo vine. Like vine. Vine. ¿Sí? Vine. Tú vienes. Tú viniste. Listen to this. Viniste. A lot of native speakers make a mistake. Say veniste. Tú veniste. Wrong. Tú viniste. And with that, we're going to go to how do we do the future. And you probably, because you have watched the other two parts of my lesson, you probably already know how to do it. Yes, so you're going to take the present tense of to go and you're going to conjugate it. Yo voy a, tú vas a, él va a, nosotros vamos a y ustedes van a. And then to make this is I'm going to, you're going to, he's going to, they are going to, we are, they, you plural, we are going to live, vivir. Vamos a dormir, we're going to sleep. Vamos a salir, we're going to come out, to exit, to leave. Vamos a recibir, we're going to receive, etc. With this plus an infinitivo, you can make the future. Muy fácil. Thank you for watching my lesson. Gracias por ver mi video. Also, I congratulate you for watching the 3 parts of this lesson. I think with these 64 verbs, you really are going to make to jump a lot in your Spanish. You're really going to make like not only a jump, you're going to make that sport that you put like the thing and you go like on top of the thing. Yeah, you're doing that with this lesson. Not only a jump. No, you're doing that thing. Boom, and you're not even touching that. You're not even dropping that thing that is like the pole that stands there. Muy bien. I think it's going to be very useful for you. Remember, the use of this playlist wasn't only to memorize the meaning of the verbs. It was to see the different tenses that in a first level are important for you to learn, such as I go, but I went, or I'm gonna go. Now you can cover 3 different tenses in your life when you're having when you communicate with someone. So that's easy, right? You don't have to communicate only in present. In fact, not a lot of people communicate in present. That's your first step to learn a language. Then you really have to go to the possibilities of the reality. Unfortunately, we do not live in the present. We always live from the past and we always live for the future. So that's why this lesson is going to be useful, because it's going to allow you to not live in your present. That's bad. That's not true. So for all these reasons and more, I congratulate you for finishing the 3rd part of these 64 verbs you need to learn in Spanish. In the future, we're going to do a lesson about other tenses that are common, but talk about other realities in time, about other times, not about maybe a different type of past, one that you don't want to remember. Maybe the past that you would have liked to have. Maybe the future that you think it might happen when something else happens, etc. We're going to open a door of possibilities. I love tenses. I love modes too, like indicativo, indicative, and subjuntivo, subjunctive. I love subjunctive, the mode of irreality. Indicativo is the reality. Subjuntivo is the irreality. And I love tenses. I love verbs. I love that. Really, I do. I'm not lying. It's weird, right? Yes, I understand, but I like it. I like tenses. Muy bien. Now that we have finished our lesson, ya que terminamos nuestra clase, I would like to invite you to check out my website, butterflyspanish.com. Also, when you are in my website, don't forget to sign up to get my newsletter. My newsletter talks about a lot of different topics related to Spanish, to the Spanish language, and the Spanish culture. So every time I send it, which happens once a month or maybe once every 2 months, depending on how much work I have in that season, in that month, I cover topics that are related to Spanish and culture, but I cover topics that I know are going to make a difference in your Spanish, that I know that will help you improve or learn Spanish, that I think are going to be useful if you're planning to go to a Spanish-speaking country, if you are planning to learn this Spanish or the other Spanish. I try to cover topics in depth and topics that I think are important for your language acquisition. Very well then. Now, if you don't have time or you wouldn't like, because there are so many other Spanish programs and so many other newsletters of people who are learning Spanish, but you're just happy with the videos, well, thank you. And I also thank you for your donations. If you can donate, it really helps me. It helps me prepare my lessons. It helps me doing more research. It helps me to find better techniques to teach you. It helps me to buy the books I need, and the markers and everything I need in order to make this possible. It also helps me buy another pearl necklace. I'm not true. I borrowed it from my sister. I think they are fake anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for your donation. I use your donations for teaching you Spanish because I love teaching you and I hope you love learning Spanish. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Adios.